That happened to us 2 years back. That 2 nights we spent camping in the Appalachian mountains had been perfect, just the escape we needed. It was peaceful and relaxing. We packed up our gear on Sunday afternoon, loaded the trunk of my old Civic. The drive started smoothly enough. The winding mountain road was familiar, though the recent rain had left the pavement slick in patches. Sarah fiddled with the radio, settling on some folk station that barely came in through the static. I kept my hands tight on the wheel, leaning forward slightly as the headlights cut through the growing darkness. Then it just happened. A sharp curve, a patch of wet leaves, the tires lost traction. The car fishtailed, and before I could correct it, we skidded off the road, the front bumper slamming into the muddy shoulder with a jolt. The engine sputtered, but didn't die. "Shit," Sarah muttered, gripping the dashboard. "You okay?" I nodded, heart pounding. "Yeah. You?" "Fine. But we're stuck." She was right. The wheels spun uselessly in the mud. No cell service, no houses in sight, just endless trees and the dim glow of our headlights reflecting off the damp road. We got out, the cold mountain air biting at our skin, and tried pushing, but the car wasn't budging. That's when the truck appeared, slowing as the truck approached. A beat-up pickup pulled up beside us, the engine idling. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a man in his late 40s, his face shadowed under a baseball cap. "You need some help?" His voice was friendly, but something about it set my nerves on edge because we were alone in the middle of nowhere. Sarah forced a smile. "Yeah, we're stuck. If you could give us a push or call a tow truck." "I got a chain," he interrupted. "Could pull you out." Before we could answer, he climbed out of the truck. He was taller than I expected. Then he said the first strange thing. "You dropped something back there." I frowned. "What?" "From your trunk. Saw it fly out when you skidded." Sarah and I exchanged a glance. We hadn't opened the trunk since packing up. "I don't think so," I said carefully. He shrugged, walking toward the rear of the car. That's when I noticed the way his eyes lingered not on the car, but on us. Too long. Too focused. He hooked the chain to my bumper, and within minutes, the car was back on the road. I thanked him, eager to leave, but he didn't move. Just stood there, watching. "You girls camping alone?" he asked. Sarah's grip on my arm tightened. "No, meeting friends down the road." A lie. A bad one. He smirked, as if he knew something I didn't. Then I noticed something unusual. He reached into his pocket and pulled out what seemed like a piece of cloth at first. I couldn't make it out clearly, but when I looked closer, I realized it was a lace-edged piece of women's underwear. "Sure this ain't yours?" Oh my God, that was so creepy. My stomach dropped. Sarah went rigid beside me. "No," I said sharply. "We should go." I yanked open the car door, and we scrambled inside. Started the engine, and I didn't wait. I hit the gas. In the rearview mirror, I saw him still standing there, grinning. But he wasn't done. His headlights flared behind us, growing brighter, closer. "He's following us," Sarah whispered. I pressed the accelerator, but the mountain road was too winding, too dangerous to speed. His truck stayed right behind us, never backing off. Then, in that moment of terror, I just saw a gas station ahead. I swerved into the lot, parking near the entrance. The truck pulled in a few spaces away, idling. "We need to call the police," Sarah said. We rushed to the payphone and dialed 911. "There's a man following us," I hissed into the receiver. "He's outside, please. Send someone." The dispatcher promised help. But when we looked back through the glass, the truck was gone. Just after that, when we got back into our car and felt like the truck had finally gone, we were about to feel some relief. I glanced in the rearview mirror. There, parked across the street, barely visible in the shadows, was the truck. Waiting. Watching. We didn't wait for the police. We drove, faster this time, not stopping until we saw the blue glow of a police station ahead. The officers took our statement seriously, sent a patrol car to search the area. But they found nothing. No truck. No man. We were safe, they said. But as we drove the rest of the way home in silence, I kept checking the mirrors. And when we finally reached Sarah's apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling somewhere out there, in the endless dark of the Appalachians, that was the worst encounter I've ever had in my life. And that creepy comment he made about us, oh my God, it was so terrifying, I can't forget it. We were completely helpless, and it felt like someone was watching us the whole time. The entire drive was horrifying, from the chase to everything else. We never went back there again after that. This happened to me last year on Christmas. My husband, Mark, and I had booked a secluded cabin deep in the woods for 2 nights, just us, and the quiet beauty of snow-covered pines. We arrived just before sunset. The cabin exactly as advertised. We unpacked, made hot cocoa, and settled in. Mark built a fire, while I curled up on the couch with a book, content. By midnight, we were both asleep, the warmth of the hearth keeping the winter chill at bay. Then, around 3 a.m., my phone rang. The shrill sound jolted me awake. Groggy, I fumbled for it on the nightstand, squinting at the screen. Unknown caller. I answered, half asleep. Hello? Silence. Then heavy breathing. My stomach tightened. Who is this? Nothing. Just that slow, deliberate inhale and exhale, like someone was listening. I hung up. Mark stirred beside me. Wrong number? He mumbled. Yeah, I said, though it didn't feel like one. I tried to sleep, but 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. Same number. This time, I didn't speak. Just held the phone to my ear, my pulse hammering. The breathing continued. Then a voice. Low. I can see you. I gasped, dropping the phone. Mark sat up. What's wrong? Someone just said they can see me. He grabbed the phone, but the call had ended. Maybe it's just someone from the wrong number messing with us, he said. I wanted to believe him, but the dread in my chest wouldn't loosen. Then the phone rang a third time. I again answered this time, putting it on speaker. Who the hell is this? The voice returned, slow, deliberate. You're very pretty. Why don't you come outside and play in the snow? Ice shot down my spine. Mark's face went pale. He hung up, then immediately turned off my phone. We're blocking the number. I pulled the blankets tighter around me, suddenly aware of every shadow in the room. The fire had died down, and we were finally able to sleep after that unsettling experience. My husband was just looking at me, and it was around 4:30 a.m. Do you think someone's out there? I whispered. Mark grabbed the poker from the fireplace. Stay here. He checked the doors, the windows, even stepped outside briefly. When he came back, his shoulders were stiff. Nothing. No one. But I couldn't shake it, the feeling of eyes on me. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. Morning even came too slowly. Maybe it had just been a prank. Maybe we'd overreacted. We had breakfast inside our cabin, and after having tea, I stepped outside. From the porch, looking around the cabin, I was shocked to see something strange. Then, I noticed the handprints. Frost had gathered on the inside of the bedroom window, and pressed into the layer of ice were 2 smudged, unmistakable handprints. Like someone had stood outside, palms flat against the glass, peering in. My breath caught. Mark. He followed my gaze, and his face darkened. Without a word, he threw on his coat and went outside. I watched from the window as he circled the cabin, his footsteps crunching in the snow. Then he stopped, stared. When he came back inside, his voice was grim. There are footprints, leading from the front of the cabin to the back. And they're fresh. My hands trembled. The caller, he was here. Mark didn't argue this time. He grabbed his phone and called the police. The sheriff arrived an hour later, a burly man with a no-nonsense demeanor. He examined the prints, took our statements, then radioed for backup to sweep the woods. No signs of forced entry, he said, but someone was definitely prowling around. You folks are lucky you didn't open the door. The words made me sick. We packed in a frenzy. The sheriff followed us down the mountain, ensuring we weren't followed. Back home, I couldn't stop thinking about it, the voice, the handprints, the footprints. Some days later, we got to know that the police never found the caller. The number was untraceable, but it was sure. We weren't alone in that cabin that night. It was my first time trying solo camping, and I had driven 3 hours into the deep woods of northern Georgia, hoping for some peace and quiet night in the deep woods. My old Honda had been rattling for miles before it finally gave out a sharp clunk. The engine light glared at me as I pulled onto the shoulder, snowflakes dusting the windshield. No cell service. No houses. Just an endless stretch of pine trees in the fading afternoon light. I sat there for more than 10 minutes, my hands gripping the wheel, torn between the urge to cry or scream. The stillness was unnerving, and the cold began to seep into my bones. After a while, I forced myself out of the car. What else could I do? I started walking, hoping to find someone or something, but the darkness pressed in around me, and the silence was suffocating. There was no sign of life, no lights, no sounds. I kept walking, the cold air biting at my face, until something caught my eye in the distance. A flickering light. At first, I wasn't sure if it was real, but as I walked closer, I saw it clearly. A neon sign, struggling to stay on, just half a mile ahead. I hurried toward it. The sign led me straight to a small, run-down motel that I hadn't noticed before. It was something a place to finally rest. Thank God. The parking lot was nearly empty, just a rusted pickup and a sedan coated in snow. Still, it was better than freezing in my car. The lobby smelled like stale coffee and cigarette smoke. A bored-looking clerk glanced up from his phone as I walked in. Need a room? He asked, barely interested. Yeah, just for 2 nights. He slid a keycard across the counter. Room 12. Last one on the left. I hesitated. Is there anyone else staying here? He smirked. You scared? Yes, just curious. Couple truckers. Quiet folks. That should have reassured me. It didn't. The room was musty but clean, the heater groaning to life when I cranked it up. I double-locked the door, propped a chair under the handle, and collapsed onto the stiff mattress. I must have dozed off because the next thing I knew, it was midnight, and someone was at my door. A soft click. Then the sound of the keycard reader, beep beep, followed by the metallic snick of the lock disengaging. My breath froze. The door handle turned. I bolted upright, my pulse roaring in my ears. Hello? My voice came out shaky. Silence. Then footsteps, retreating fast. I scrambled out of bed, my legs wobbly, and pressed my ear to the door. Nothing. Just the wind. Hands trembling, I called the front desk. Yeah? The same clerk answered, sounding annoyed. Someone just tried to get into my room. A pause. What? They had a key card. They unlocked my door. Another pause. Longer this time. No one else is assigned to your room, miss. That's not possible. I heard it. I'll send security. He hung up before I could argue. The security guard arrived 10 minutes later, a tired-looking man in a too small uniform. He checked the lock, scanned the hallway, then shrugged. Maybe it was a glitch. These keycards act up sometimes. A glitch? I hissed. The door opened. He sighed, like I was overreacting. I'll take a walk around. You want me to stay posted outside? Yes. No. Just be nearby. He left, and I locked the door again, my hands shaking so badly I could barely slide the chain into place. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Morning brought weak sunlight and a false sense of safety. I marched straight to the front desk, my nerves frayed. I need to know who else had a key to my room last night. The clerk blinked. Like I said, no one. Check the system, please. Grudgingly, he pulled up the records. Then his face changed. Huh. What? There's a second keycard logged for your room. Activated at 11:53 p.m. My stomach dropped. Who used it? He shook his head. Not assigned to anyone. Just a blank swipe. A chill slithered down my spine. Blank swipe. Like someone had used a master key. Or stolen one. I spent the day in town, refusing to step foot back in that motel until dusk. Even then, I parked right under a streetlight, my eyes scanning the shadows between buildings. The security guard from last night nodded as I passed. No trouble today, miss. I forced a smile. Good. It wasn't. The second night, I barely slept. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind, sent my heart into my throat. Then, at 2:17 a.m. beep beep. The keycard reader. Again. I shot up in bed, my breath coming in short gasps. This time, I didn't call out. Didn't move. Just listened as the handle turned, then stopped. The chain lock held. A soft thud as someone leaned against the door. Then, so quiet, I almost missed it, knuckles dragging down the wood. Scritch. Scritch. I didn't breathe. After an eternity, footsteps retreated. I didn't call security. Didn't scream. Just sat there, clutching my pepper spray until sunrise. The clerk didn't meet my eyes when I checked out. You'll have a serious problem here, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. He shrugged. Never had complaints before. I wanted to shake him. Someone tried to break into my room twice, but the words died in my throat. What good would arguing do? That was the time I left the motel and called the tow truck to pick up my car. It was by far the worst experience I'd ever had. The whole adventure had gone wrong from the start, and the nights at that motel were nothing short of terrifying. It felt like anything could have happened if you'd been alone or hadn't made proper arrangements before heading into the unknown. And to this day, I still don't know who or what had that keycard. After driving continuously for 12 hours on my way back from visiting family in Tennessee, exhaustion had completely seeped into my bones. My GPS had lost signal hours ago, leaving me to navigate the winding Appalachian backroads with nothing but a crumpled paper map. The road signs became fewer, the trees thicker, until I found myself on a narrow dirt path that barely qualified as a road. Just pull over. Sleep it off. Keep going at sunrise. I eased my car onto the shoulder, gravel crunching under the tires. No streetlights. No houses. Just the endless, black silhouette of mountains against the night sky. Letting my seat recline, I exhaled slowly, feeling the day's tension drain from my muscles. The forest seemed tranquil. I closed my eyes, finally letting myself relax into the worn upholstery, my body sinking into that hazy space between wakefulness and sleep. Then I was just about to sleep when I heard the sound like crunch. My eyelids flew open. The sound of footsteps are not like the random crackle of forest debris. I lay perfectly still, every muscle tensed, listening as the steps grew louder, closer. The hairs on my arms stood up as the sound circled my vehicle, gravel shifting beneath deliberate. Someone or something was outside my car. Then again, something on two legs. My eyes snapped open. Crunch, 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 Closer now. Circling. My fingers crept toward the revolver in my glove compartment. I never carried it unless I was driving through the middle of nowhere. Tonight, I was glad I did. Then, bang, again banging noise. A fist hammered against my window. I jerked back with a shout, my heart slamming against my ribs. A face pressed against the glass, wild, bloodshot eyes, a matted beard, a plaid shirt streaked with dirt. The man's mouth moved, screaming words I couldn't hear through the glass. "Get the hell away from my car," I yelled, raising the revolver. He didn't flinch, just kept pounding, his lips peeling back in a snarl. "Open the door," he screamed, his voice ragged. "Please, open it." I kept the gun trained on him, finger hovering near the trigger. "Back off. I'll shoot." For a second, he froze. Then his expression twisted, not with anger, but terror. He whipped around, staring into the woods behind him. "They're coming," he whispered. Then, louder, frantic, "They're coming." My stomach dropped. Who the hell is they? Before I could process it, another figure burst from the trees, taller, broader, sprinting straight for us. I braced, finger tightening on the trigger. Then another guy tackled the first man, sending them both sprawling into the dirt. "Stay in the car." The second man barked at me, pinning the other down. "He's not right in the head." The first man thrashed, screaming, "Let me go. They'll get us both." The second man, clean-cut, wearing a camping backpack, wrenched the other's arms behind his back. "Shut up, Dale. You're scaring people." Dale. He knew him. The two struggled, their voices dropping into murmurs I couldn't make out. The second man kept glancing at the woods, his jaw tight. The first man kept shaking his head, whimpering. Then the second man looked at me, his expression unreadable. "You should go. Now." I didn't need telling twice. I slammed the car into drive and peeled out. In the rearview mirror, I saw them still there, the first man on his knees, the other man gripping his shoulder, both watching me leave. I didn't stop driving until I hit the nearest gas station 20 miles later. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold my coffee. The cashier eyed me. "You all right, son?" I forced a laugh. "Just long night." He nodded, like he understood. I didn't tell him what happened. Didn't mention something was out there. I just drank my coffee, got back in my car, and swore I'd never pull over in the middle of nowhere again. The two men had known each other, that much was clear from how the second one said Dale's name. But their whispered conversation after the struggle, that wasn't right. When the second man told me to leave, there'd been something in his voice, not concern for my safety, but a warning.